PlayStation's first State of Play for 2024 has just finished, and it featured new trailers for Dragon's Dogma, Rise of the Ronin, and the announcement of a brand new IP from legendary creator Hideo Kojima. We're going to walk through all of it right here on VGC, giving you my thoughts to the show that just took place. Underneath me, I'll be running a smattering of the trailers, but do forgive me if they don't quite line up to what I was talking about. We kicked off with a Helldivers 2 trailer, which is probably the game that's closest to actually being available. It's out on February 8th, so that's just next week at this point. And I think the trailer looked good. I'm not sure how much gaming cachet that Helldivers, the original, has. I remember enjoying that game, but especially with this change to third person rather than the top down, it's kind of surprising that they actually called it Helldivers. I don't know why they didn't maybe just come up with a new IP. I suppose they think Helldivers was a PS Plus game at some point, so maybe some people remember it. But yeah, looks good. Fun third person shooting. I feel like when Helldivers is the big premiere thing you're talking about at the minute, you kind of need something else, and maybe this was filled in later on. But then we get an appearance from the PlayStation boss himself, Herman Hulst. Jim Ryan no longer making appearances on these shows, God rest him, my good northern boy. He just bragged about how well PlayStation 5's doing. They mentioned PlayStation VR 2, which at that point I was like, what PlayStation VR 2? However, I would soon eat my words because we have some PlayStation VR 2 mentions later on. First big game showcased was Stellar Blade, which is a cool looking thing from Shift Up. It's a bit like those Neo games, not the Koei Tecmo ones, the ones from Yokotaro. It's a third person shooter with some melee combat. It showed a bit more of the world, showed off the characters. The characters look cool, even though I wasn't particularly drawn in by the story itself. But this is what these showcases need more of, these kind of extended trailers where it's like, okay, elevator pitch, here's what's going on, here's the state of the world, here's what we're doing at the minute. And I think they achieved that. The music was really, really good. I appreciated that. That's out in April, on April 26th. It's a PlayStation Studios co-production. I'm interested to play it. Not necessarily my kind of game, but I'm interested. Unfortunately, next we saw Sonic the Hedgehog, which is always a disappointment at a thing like this. As kind of expected, Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, which they didn't really illuminate what that is, but it seems to be unifying a lot of the content from those games, putting them together, the 3DS version and stuff like that. Sonic fans will be happy. I did notice during that, though, that I have been forced, I would say under duress, to know far more Sonic music than I think I should. My favourite Sonic game is, and really the only one I've played fully, is Sonic Colors. Oh no, Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes, that one. But because of memes and because of the internet, I know that rolling around at the speed of I hear that when I go to sleep. I fall asleep hearing that. So yeah, it was a cool trailer, mixing all that music together. I appreciate it. Sega knows what it's doing. Sonic fans are eating. God love yous. I do not count myself amongst your number. Now this next one is Zenless Zone Zero. I actually got an email about this during the broadcast, so I'm going to bring you behind the curtain and I'll look at this email with you because I didn't really get a great sense of it. Okay, it's from HoYoverse, and it is a urban fantasy ARPG. The new trailer confirmed that it's coming to PlayStation 5 in addition to the previously announced PC, iOS, and Android. So, you know, if it's one of those games, if you're into that, cool. Next up was Foam Stars, which confirmed today is a PS Plus game for PS Plus Essential. So go ahead, try that. Maybe that'll have a Rocket Leagueian kind of reception by the time we actually get there. Since people can try it for, I say free, but less and less people actually have those subscriptions these days because I don't really think they're worth it personally, even though I just paid £100 to Sony for mine. Dave the Diver's coming to PlayStation in April and getting Godzilla DLC. That's fun. Dave the Diver's a cool game. Sorry if I'm looking around. There's messages popping off. It's the wake of a showcase. V Rising is also coming to PS5. Next up, we got Silent Hill: The Short Message, which is a kind of it's free to download. It's out today. I don't know if it's out yet. I've not checked the PlayStation, but it's a first person kind of. It's a playable teaser, if you will. It's a bit of a PT for what's coming next in Silent Hill. So go ahead, try that out if you fancy it. Silent Hill 2 Remake. They only showed kind of short gameplay clips from this, but it looked pretty visually impressive. The lighting and the kind of the world, the environment that he was exploring looked very realistic. It looked nice and kind of reserved. It made me think of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and that's not just because they have the same hair, but kind of the design sensibilities of the world seemed very similar. And I'm so curious about that, because Bloober Team has a bit of a mixed report card when it comes to making horror games, and Silent Hill and the Silent Hill Mafia have been treated so badly for years and years. I wonder if it's a case of, let's just get out there, let's remake Silent Hill 2, because it's a game that we know, it's a banker, that's the can't fail. So if we get out there, remake Silent Hill 2, then get our feet together for the next one kind of thing. But cautiously optimistic. We'll see. I think you'd really need to look to the Silent Hill Massive to see if it's given what people are looking for. But yeah, no release date coming at some point. Now, next one, it was a cool one. Judas, Ken Levine's new game. Now, if you recognise the name Ken Levine, it's because he was Mr. Bioshock. He was Johnny Bioshock back in the day. He's not put out a new game since 2013's Bioshock Infinite. Literally since GTA 5 was released, he's not put out a new game. But his new game, Judas, it looks very Bioshock-ish. You're set on a space station, an Art Deco space station, because it wouldn't be a Ken Levine game if whatever you were wasn't Art Deco. From this trailer, I was like, if I didn't know that this was a Ken Levine game or from the creators of Bioshock, if that didn't come up from Campfire Games or whatever the place is called, you'd know straight away, because you're shooting with one hand, you're doing powers with another hand. The world looks really cool. All the enemies are very detailed and kind of flipping up towards you. And then the kind of here's the problem. There seemed to be a bit of a political message in the trailer, and I have no problem with all games are political inherently. However, the last time Ken Levine broached a political message, it went very poorly, and we all remember Bioshock Infinite and how that went. I hope it's handled with a little bit more grace, just slightly, but it's very hard to tell from a trailer like that. It seemed more capitalist v anti-capitalist rather than the very questionable decisions made at the end of Bioshock Infinite. Speaking of questionable decisions, the PlayStation VR has another game, Metro Awakening, this is called. It's coming out in 2024. There was another game straight after it that it was called like Legendary Adventures. It was some kind of RPG where you're like throwing about a sword and cutting people's heads off. That looked kind of fun. That looked very proto VR. It looked like, oh, this is the first thing you do when you get VR, but those experiences are still fun. So it's nice. It's nice for the PlayStation VR 2 to have more things, because it's a really good headset. Okay, it's a really good headset. It just doesn't have any games. Now we get into the meat. This is the meat section. Dragon's Dogma 2 new trailer. That came out later in March. Trailer looked rock solid. People have been boring you to tears about Dragon's Dogma for a long time. I really hope this is the one that gets the series kind of into the zeitgeist and it gets Capcom to make another one in a couple of years. I think the marketing spend behind this and the heads are all about Dragon's Dogma. They're constantly, the Alex Donaldsons of this world, they're constantly talking about Dragon's Dogma, and I feel like that will generate it to, not only do I think this game will review very well, I mean, I say that, I've not played it yet, but I think it'll review really well, and Capcom's just on a bit of a banger streak. Like, you cannot, Exoprimal's not great, but apart from Exoprimal, you cannot bet against Capcom at the minute. So I think the trailer looks really strong. People are up for a fantasy RPG always, and yeah, I think looks good. Good showing. Now the next one is the game that I'm most I say most curious about. We're about to talk about Hideo Kojima, but after this, Rise of the Ronin. It's an open world game from Koei Tecmo, and to me it looks like hardcore Ghost of Tsushima, and it looks like the kind of the open world sensibilities of your modern Assassin's Creed, your modern Ghost of Tsushima, but with the really difficult and hard to master combat of the Koei Tecmo Neo games, which I think is no bad thing at all. I think that's a great premise for a game. That it looked graphically really interesting. You were zipping, you were using like a feudal Japan zip line to throw yourself up on buildings and then float away with your big bird thing. That looks like a game that will be full of open world guff. In the sense that it will be like, oh, go do this on this mission. The world is full of mission indicators, but I bet the gameplay is rock solid. I have faith in Koei Tecmo. So Rise of the Ronin, one to keep an eye on. From a glance, it does look very Ghost of Tsushima-ish. I mean, it's two games set in feudal Japan. That's really it. But I loved Ghost of Tsushima, so a hardcore, and I love Neo, so the Koei Tecmo Neo, not Neo. No, I meant Nier when I was talking about Neo earlier. Sorry, it's very late. Yeah, the Koei Tecmo Neo games are hot shit, so I'll be into that. That's out on March 22. Also, as expected, Until Dawn is coming to PC and PS5. About time. Until Dawn's a cool game. It really set the stage for the modern supermassive stuff, and I'd be up for replaying that. It's been a long time. It's got big Rami Malek in it. Big, I like the beach. I like family. Shout out if you get that reference. And finally, who else could it be but Hideo motherfucking Kojima to close us out with Death Stranding 2. Now, Death Stranding 2, the whole Death Stranding experience is I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the idea of Death Stranding more than I loved actually playing the game. I think Kojima is like a kind of fascinating visionary in an industry that doesn't have many of them. But every time I watch it, I tweeted out this, every time I watch something to do with Death Stranding, I'm like, these graphics look incredible. There's a clip of Lea Seydoux and I'm like, oh my god, that looks like just video. And then they're both completely grayscale, and there's a cat with like bat wings standing on the shoulders of George Miller, the director of Mad Max. And then Troy Baker comes in and he's dressed like Wolfpack Sting, and he plays a guitar to attack someone who's in like a giant robot samurai suit who looks like Grey Fox. Like, look, it's lovely that Kojima gets to do whatever he wants. And honestly, I'm not even going to quantify that by saying, but it is a good thing that he gets to do whatever he wants with these games, because there's something so kind of impressively creative. There's clearly no, oh shut up Discord, there's clearly no one standing there beside him being like, Hideo, I'm not too sure about that one, hen. There's like, that's maybe a bit confusing for people who haven't been sitting reading your Twitter. Like, I have expected churches to show up at one bit. But yeah, the trailer showed off that we're either on another planet or another part of Earth that because it's not in the United States anymore, they make a reference to that. And you're doing the Death Stranding stuff, you're trying to connect people again. Why did we connect is one of the big themes. It's hard to talk about this because at one point he's given up a little puppet man that animates at like 15 frames a second. So he's like this, while Norman Reedus and Lea Seydoux are very smooth, the little puppet man who looks like Alan Wake for some reason. It's like, I'm going to walk up to a random person in Paisley tomorrow and explain this game to them, and I will be sectioned by the day's end. Look, show me more. Let Kojima does what he wants. And Herman Hulse clearly had the same idea, because they also announced at the end of the showcase that Kojima will be developing a brand new action espionage game. Those who recognise that statement will realise that they used to refer to Metal Gear Solid as Total Espionage Action. So it's a new IP in collaboration with Columbia Pictures and PlayStation. He says he wants to bridge the gap between games and film. It's very Kojima stuff. He says that it'll be the culmination of his career. I know he's getting on in, I think he's like 60 or something like that. He's getting on there. I don't think this is going to be the last Kojima game. However, whatever he wants to do, just kind of let him do it. Let him do whatever he wants, because he is a weird visionary guy. I don't even think all these games are that good. I'll happily play all of them. I'll happily like see what he wants to do. I wonder if there's a part of him that's like, I wish I could do another Snake game. Is this going to be a Metal Gear game in all but name? Are they going to, by the time this comes out, are they going to have settled the beef with Konami, and PlayStation will just give Konami £1 billion and be like, just let them use Metal Gear. Just let them use Metal Gear for like one. It'll be better than any Metal Gear game you could possibly produce. So just let them do it. Yeah, it was overall, I think it was a pretty strong show. It's the best one of these state of plays in a while. It didn't feel like some marketing obligation. It felt pretty tight. There's going to be another one in 6 days showing off Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff, which very much is just like a kind of Kira's more FF7 Rebirth, which is all good. But more frequency with these. I think I know that you actually need the games to be able to show them, but I think there's, apart from the fact that it all leaked, thanks Nick, good guess. Apart from that, I think if this had just came out raw, I think people would have been pretty into it. So I'm gonna give it, we don't do half stars, but if we did, it would be a solid 3.5 out of 5. What did you think of the first state of play of the year? What did you think against the developer direct? I think they were both pretty strong. I couldn't really pick between the two, to be honest. I would maybe prefer this just because I think the Kojima thing was so impressive, but Indiana Jones also slapped, so solid shows from both of them to start off. What's Nintendo doing? Making the Switch 2. Until we are back with another video, be sure to subscribe to VGC and check us out on TikTok, VGC_news. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter at Jordan Midler, and we'll see you next time.